Hey, my name is Alexandra Naughton. I am not a drama channel. I'm a person with like less than 50 subscribers. But I do watch a lot of drama content and I do like Trisha Paytas. I think she's interesting and I just enjoy watching her content. I don't think she's a perfect person and I do think she has issues and, she's a human being and because she is a public figure, her issues are the topic of drama channels. Recently, she stormed off the Frenemies podcast because of an issue or an altercation, an argument that she was having with her co-host. And I really don't think drama channels are being fair to her in this situation. I feel like everyone's kind of just jumping on her and saying that she's a bad person because of the things that she said. But if you watch the Frenemies podcast and if you are familiar with Trisha's content, then I feel like you would know some things about Trisha and it explains the behavior. Earlier on the Frenemies podcast, there was an episode where Ethan and Trisha had a conversation with Dr. Drew, and the topic of Trisha's triggers came up, and how she blacks out kind of and just says horrible things when she feels triggered. It's like a defense mechanism. Obviously, yeah, it's not a good personality trait to have, but it happens to people sometimes. And if you know that she does that, if you know that she can get triggered and have an outburst and say horrible things that she recognizes are horrible and that she will regret later on, then I don't know. I feel like that Ethan shares part of that responsibility too. And some of the things that drama channels are saying, I think they aren't being fair and they're also not being accurate. So what happened when Trisha stormed out? Before she stormed out, what caused the argument was her saying that, or no, Ethan brought up his wife, Gila, right? And said something like, oh yeah, Gila was like, Trisha had powdered sugar on her face. You didn't even say anything to her about it. Ethan mentioned that his wife, Gila, had noticed the powdered sugar on Trisha's face, right? And Trisha said, oh, we should have her on the show. Why don't we have her on the show? Like, people are always saying that, like, there's bad blood between Trisha and Gila. So if we have her on the podcast, on the Frenemies podcast, we can basically, like, show that there's no bad blood between us. Like, we don't hate each other. And then Ethan immediately just, like, had a negative reaction to that and was kind of scolding Trisha, saying, like, oh, we gotta cut this. You can't talk about Gila. We gotta cut this. We're cutting this. He just kept saying that, and he brought his wife up, Gila, in the first place. Like, he brought that up as a topic of conversation. Instead of repeating, oh, we gotta cut this, placing the blame on Trisha for, like, suggesting having her on the show, suggesting having Gila on the show, he could have just cut it in post-production, right? He could have just cut it later on, made it a non-issue, like, oh yeah, maybe, but, like, not use that for the podcast, right? Instead, it became this point of contention where they're fighting about mentioning Gila's name on the fucking podcast. But he mentioned her first, and all Trisha said in response to that was suggesting having her on the podcast, which is not an insult. It's not saying something nasty about his wife, who doesn't want to be mentioned on the podcast for whatever reason. This is, like, all family drama. I honestly don't think any of this should have been aired. I don't think we should have been privy to any of this conversation. I think it was put, I think it was used for views. And I think that's kind of disgusting. And now Trisha's like an easy target. I mean, okay. I don't want to defend her too much because I don't want people to think that, like, oh, I'm just like a stan or whatever. I do like her. But I do think, you know, it's fair to criticize her too. But I don't think she was all to blame for this situation. And now, you know, she's defending herself in videos, and it's not a good situation at all. I took some notes. What else did I write? Yeah, so like I just don't think any of it should have been aired. I don't think we should have seen this. This is like an ugly family fight. Trisha is dating Ethan's brother-in-law, Gila's brother. And there's obviously like just some weird family drama happening, and it's really none of our business. So why put it on the internet for views and then get angry at Trisha for reacting to that? I think that's not fair. I think it's fucked up. And I don't like how drama channels are treating her like she's the villain in this scenario when both sides are to blame. But I think also she's a person with a mental illness, and I don't think it's fair to like to stoke her, right? To trigger her and then get angry at her for reacting in a way that you know she's going to react. I think that's fucked up. And Ethan should be ashamed of himself. And honestly, like, you're just trying to get views off of some ugly family drama. I think that's all I have to say. I just wanted to say something because I don't think she's getting a fair shake in terms of like how everyone is reacting to this. And I think everyone should be kinder to people with mental illness and try to just be a little bit more empathetic. You know, she's not a perfect person at all. She's definitely a person with flaws, but I think that she tries to own up to them, and yeah, leave her alone. I mean, you don't have to leave her alone, but like, just try to be empathetic. That's all. It's not hard.